You are tuned to the CWA Civil Rights Talk Show, an hour of power. Now here's your host, Errol Liner.
Good morning, Linda J. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. Communication Workers of America, CWA, Human Rights Hour Power, a justice-filled hour of talk, solidarity, and worker power. Welcome back right here on KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you on kyokradio.org. We have an awesome show lined up for you today, so don't you dare change that dial. It's almost summer. The days are getting longer, and we have more time to get outside and let our union voices be heard. Let our union voices ring in every district from Alaska to Maine, from Texas to Minnesota. Our union brothers, sisters, and siblings at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette have been outside for 18 months striking on the picket lines. And yet, while they are striking, they are still churning out the news with facts for you and me. Let's show our support to them by making sure we subscribe to unionprogress.com. Once you subscribe to this free publication, how about going over and donating to their strike fund at cwa.org/PPG-donate. And I just heard someone shout in the background, when we fight, we win. Our brothers, sisters, and siblings at Maximus are still fighting for a contract. We ask that you continue to support the workers of Maximus and their families at cwa.org/CCW Solidarity Fund. We have reached a point in society where many people are, as Fannie Lou Hamer said, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. Sick and tired of violence in communities, sick and tired of women's rights being taken away, sick and tired of labor rights being legislated against, sick and tired of voter suppression laws, sick and tired of our history being erased, sick and tired of when you finally learn how to play the game, they change the rules. Sick and tired of civil rights being violated and ignored. Sick and tired of the LGBTQIA plus community's rights not being equal. Sick and tired of human rights being eliminated. So what do you do when you are sick and tired of being sick and tired? Let's start today by putting a little love and understanding into your life. What I'm about to say and what you're about to hear, let it inspire you to take action toward creating positive change today. We all have the power to make difference and create a world where human rights are respected by our fellow neighbors, union brothers, sisters, and siblings. The month of June is Pride Month. Human rights strongly advocates for fair and equal treatment of all, regardless of whatever community member you are part of. Education and awareness plays a critical role in achieving this goal. Andrew Smith once wisely stated, people fear what they don't understand and hate what they can't conquer. This highlights the fact that ignorance and lack of knowledge are usually the root causes of fear and hatred. Ultimately, fear stems from an individual's inability to comprehend something, which is why many are afraid of what they cannot understand. When individuals, organizations, employers, or governments oppose full equality for the LGBTQIA plus community, they create a divide between themselves and education. If division arises when someone comes out or speaks up, it is important to recognize that the LGBTQIA plus community is not responsible for it. Rather, they are simply drawing attention to pre-existing division. Many individuals within the LGBTQIA plus community face lines of division drawn by anti-LGBTQIA plus forces. These lines exclude them from certain places while their co-workers, family, friends, siblings, and parents are allowed to freely stand within them. The LGBTQI plus community forms communities, builds families, and establishes support structures amongst themselves. They also produce art, form alliances, and stand in solidarity with one another. As human rights activists, we are committed to persisting in the fight for equality, creating more inclusive and supportive environments and standing in support of the LGBTQIA community. Today, I want to take the opportunity for just a few moments to explain the history of the pride flag and why it is a symbol of the LGBTQIA plus community. The iconic rainbow pride flag, often seen adorning homes, businesses, and car bumpers worldwide, is much more than a colorful display. It stands as a vibrant testament to the LGBTQIA plus pride, a symbol of safe spaces, and an emblem of unwavering support. The LGBTQIA plus community exists everywhere, exemplified by the rainbow. The rainbow flag was first waved in preparation for the San Francisco Gay and Lesbian Freedom Day Parade on June 25th, 1978. California's first openly gay elected official, Harvey Milk, commissioned Gilbert Baker, an openly gay veteran, drag queen, activist, and artist, to create a symbol representing the LGBTQIA plus community. Baker's 8-colored rainbow stripe flag, which he felt expressed the LGBTQI community's joy, beauty, and power, was inspired by the American flag. In the late 1970s, national pride was at peak because of the bicentennial, and homophobia was rife in U.S. society. Using national symbols for queer pride resonated with many queer people. The original configuration included pink to signify sex, red, life, orange, healing, yellow, sunlight, green, nature, turquoise, magic, blue, harmony, and purple, spirit. And after the assassination of Harvey Milk in 1978, the demand for the flag increased, leading to the removal of the pink and turquoise stripes due to manufacturing constraints. The 6 remaining rainbow colors then became the enduring symbol of gay pride. The rainbow flag became more inclusive of all by taking Baker's rainbow flag and updating it many times over to be more inclusive. The evolution of the rainbow flag reflects how the queer community continues to grapple with issues of race and gender. Recent iterations of the flag center queer, Black, Indigenous people of color, and gender non-conforming people who face discrimination in queer spaces. In 2017, the Philly Pride flag was unveiled at Philadelphia City Hall. Created by Philadelphia's Office of LGBT Affairs under the leadership of Amber Hikes. This version features Black and brown stripes at the top to include the queer, trans, Black, Indigenous people of color, community that has historically been excluded from queer movements despite facing prejudice and violence as double minorities. The involvement of the queer, trans, Black, Indigenous people of color community was central to the Stonewall Rebellion. These additions pay homage to them and center them. In 2018, the rainbow emblem was updated by non-binary artist Daniel Quasar to include the white, pale pink, and blue stripes of the trans pride flag, symbolizing a commitment to greater inclusivity. The Progress Pride flag is about resisting the erasure of the queer, trans, Black, Indigenous people of color community within the movement. It reincorporates pink, one of the original colors that was jettisoned in a new context. Quasar was inspired by the addition of the Black and brown stripes to the Philadelphia Pride flag in 2017 to emphasize the current needs within our community. The LGBTQIA plus rights movement has historically centered white gay men, while trans people and people of color played a pivotal role in the 1969 Stonewall riots. They were largely excluded from early pride celebrations. And even today, trans people, especially trans people of color, are among the most vulnerable in the LGBTQ plus community, facing income disparities, anti-trans legislation, and discrimination. 84% of the transgender and gender expansive people killed in 2023 were people of color. According to Quasar, the chevron shape of the stripes represents the trans and marginalized community, symbolizes an arrow moving forward, but it's positioned at the end of the flag to show more progress is needed. The new design forces the viewer to confront their own feelings towards the original pride flag and its meanings, as well as the differing opinions on who that flag really represents. The black and brown stripes from a chevron shape filled with the light blue, pink, and white colors of the trans flag. It's important to center trans people because they've often been on the front lines of activism and faced the most repercussions due to their often visible gender transgressions. In 2020, a new LGBTQIA plus rainbow flag emerged, the Queer People of Color flag. Although the designer remains unknown, the banner highlights queer and racial equity by incorporating the Black Lives Matter motif of a raised fist in a gradient of skin tones. The political movement that led to the creation of the rainbow flag in the 1970s is unimaginable without the contributions of the QTBI-POC. And that centering QTBI-POC asserts the unmovable place of people of color in the LGBTQIA plus movement. The intersex, lastly, I should say, in 2021, the most recent iteration of the pride flag included the intersex community created by Valentino Vachetti. Vachetti stated pride flags exist not to contain or delineate us, but to reflect our diverse existence and to create inclusive visibility. Inclusion cannot be assumed. It matters that we can see it. The flag builds upon the Progress Pride designed by incorporating a purple circle within a yellow triangle, symbolizing intersex pride with 11 colors. It's a subtle nod to the original rainbow pride emblem. Baker's flag has undergone numerous revisions and will likely continue to be reimagined. The more we see how broad the spectrum of human identity is, the more iterations of the flag will be. In a community as vibrant, creative, and engaged in activism as the LGBTQI plus community is, the flag will continue to evolve. You are tuned into KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5. If you're on the go, you can take us with you on kyokradio.org. Up next is Makia Jones with the history of Pride Month and how it all began. Good morning, Makia.
Good morning, Errol. Good morning, KYOK. Happy Pride Month. So I'm just so excited to talk to you all today about the history of Pride Month. As a daughter of a member of the LGBTQIA plus community, I'm super excited to get this out there and just give you all a little history lesson. So in June, we celebrate and recognize lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer plus Pride Month in honor of the 1969 Stonewall Uprising. The purpose of the commemorative month is to recognize the impact that lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender individuals have had on history, locally, nationally, and internationally. As was common practice in many cities, the New York Police Department would occasionally raid bars and restaurants where gays and lesbians were known to gather. This occurred on June 28, 1969, when the NYPD raided the Stonewall Inn, which was a bar in the Greenwich Village neighborhood of Manhattan. When the police aggressively dragged patrons and employees out of the bar, several people fought back against the NYPD, and a growing crowd of angry locals gathered in the streets. The confrontations quickly escalated and sparked 6 days of protests and violent clashes with the NYPD outside the Stonewall Inn on Christopher Street and throughout the neighborhood. America's first gay pride parade was held on the 1-year anniversary of the riots. The events of Stonewall and the liberation movements that followed were a direct result of prior decades of LGBTQ+ activism and organizing. In particular, pride traditions were adapted from the Reminder Day pickets held annually between 1965 and 1969 on July 4th at Independence Hall in Philadelphia. Pride Month was first recognized in 1994 when a coalition of education-based organizations in the United States designated October as LGBT History Month. The federal government first recognized the month in 1999 when President Bill Clinton declared June Gay and Lesbian Pride Month, and in 2009, President Barack Obama declared June LGBT Pride Month, and the Department of Defense celebrated its first Pride Month in June of 2012, following the repeal of the Don't Ask, Don't Tell in 2011. So today on KYOK Radio, we celebrate Pride Month. So happy Pride Month, everyone, and don't forget to be an ally to all members of your community. Back to you, Errol.
Thank you so much, Makia, for the history of the Pride Month. You are listening to Communication Workers of America, CWA Human Rights Hour Power, a justice-filled hour of talk, solidarity, and worker power, right here on KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you on KYOKradio.org. Timia Wiley is here with the Union Buster of the Week. Good morning, Timia.
Good morning, Errol. And thank you, KYOK, for having me back, and also happy Pride Month. Today, I want to shed some light on a matter that strikes at the heart of workers' rights and corporate responsibility, the story of Tesla. Yes, the trailblazing electric vehicle company is one of innovation and disruption at the same time. But behind that shiny exterior lies a darker tale of suppression and resistance to worker rights. Tesla's union-busting tactics have been a subject of increasing concern and scrutiny. As the company rapidly expands its operations and reshapes the automotive industry, it's crucial to examine the treatment of the individuals who form the backbone of its success, the workers. Reports have surfaced detailing a pattern of behavior aimed at stifling any attempts by employees to organize and advocate for their rights. Workers who have dared to speak out about their working conditions or express interest in unionizing have been met with hostility, intimidation, and even retaliation. So imagine being an employee at Tesla, passionate about the company's mission to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy, yet feeling afraid to voice your concerns or advocate for better working conditions. This is the reality faced by many Tesla employees who fear repercussions for speaking up. Tesla's famous CEO, Elon Musk, has defended the company's stance, arguing that unions could impede innovation and agility. However, these arguments fail to acknowledge the fundamental rights of workers to collectively bargain and ensure their voices are heard. Unionization is not about hindering progress. It's about ensuring fairness, dignity, and respect in the workplace. It's about giving workers a seat at the table and the power to negotiate for better wages, benefits, and working conditions. By resisting unionization, Tesla is denying its employees the very rights that countless workers before them have fought so hard to secure. But the story doesn't end there. Despite the challenges that they face, Tesla employees and their supporters continue to fight for change. From grassroots organizing efforts to calls for greater transparency and accountability, there is a growing movement demanding that Tesla live up to its promises of innovation and sustainability by treating its workers with the respect they deserve. As consumers, investors, and members of the global community, we have a responsibility to hold companies like Tesla accountable for their actions. We must stand in solidarity with the workers who are bravely speaking out against injustice and fighting for a better future for themselves and families. In conclusion, Tesla's union-busting tactics are not just a matter of labor relations, they are also a question of ethics, values, and human rights. This is a call of action for all of us who demand accountability and ensure that the corporations prioritize the well-being of their workers above all else. And this is why Tesla is our Union Buster of the Week. Thank you, Errol.
Thank you so much, Timmy. I am so glad you finally got that fixed.
Just got to get my timing right. That's all. Got to get my boo timing right.
That's all right. We got it. We're gonna
We
work it
working on
together,
it.
but at least we can hear it this time. We couldn't hear that bell you had. We
My union bell.
Yeah, your union bell. We could not hear that. Thank you so much again, Tibia, for giving us the union buster of the week, and that is Tesla. You're tuned into KYOK 1140 AM, 106.5 FM, Communication Workers of America, CWA, Human Rights, Our Power. Take us with you on KYOKradio.org. Spotlighting Our Own is up next with Mr. Reginald Small. Good morning, Reginald. It's so good to have you in the studio.
Good morning, Errol Minor, and good morning, KYOK radio listeners. And Errol, it is a good day to be in the studio. Happy Pride Month to everyone. I am and I remain Reginald Small, CWA Civil Rights and Equity Chairperson. And yes, I've said it once and I've said it twice and I'll say it again. This is my favorite part of the program, spotlighting one of our own. But I must admit that the Union Buster of the Week, now that we have the audio and the boos, boo, I think that might be running a close second to my favorite part of the program. But today in particular, I am truly excited to spotlight my friend and sister in the struggle, Keturah Johnson. Keturah began working as a ramp agent at Piedmont Airlines in 2013. She has worked in the aviation industry for over a decade, starting as a ramp agent before moving on to the in-flight department and eventually cabin crew. Keturah is a combat veteran and has served being in service is second nature to her. So she immediately became active in AFA-CWA. She has served as Master Executive Council President of Local 61. During this tenure, Keturah has also secured a historic 100% vote during contract negotiations to strike if negotiations didn't reach a conclusion. After 4 years and the worst crisis the flight attendant industry ever faced, Piedmont flight attendants ratified a new contract in March of 2022. Since then, she hasn't stopped making history. On the first day of Pride Month in 2022, she began her term as AFA-CWA International Vice President, making her the first queer woman of color and combat veteran elected to serve in that role. Keturah is passionate about making the industry a safe and inclusive, let me say that again, a safe and inclusive industry that celebrates the diversity of the workers who power it and work to make the spaces safe and supportive for all people, including immigrants, trans people, Black and Indigenous people, and the LBBTQIA plus community. So every person in the AFA represents, has a voice. Good morning, Cato, and welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you everyone for having me. What an incredible honor to be here and to see so many familiar faces that I know and who I've met in the movement. It feels very good to be seen. A big shout out to CWA, where I first started at Piedmont on the ramp, but also where I came up to get involved in the union and be seen. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, definitely. You're very welcome. It's good to be in the same space with you. And of course, I'm going to get in trouble with my mean producer because she's told me not to show favoritism to certain guests, but it is very difficult to, Cato, not to show a little bit of favoritism to you because you and I actually met right in the Human Rights Department on the Civil Rights and Equity committee. So I'm just going to deal with her later and I'm going to show you just a little bit of favoritism and we're going to get right on in to our questions this morning. So specifically, what is Pride at Work and how are you involved?
Thank you, Reggie. So Pride at Work is a nonprofit organization that represents LGBTQ plus union members and their allies. So we're officially recognized constituency group of the AFL. with over more than 20 chapters across the country. So we organize in the spirit of an injury to one is an injury to all. We oppose all forms of discrimination on the job and in our unions based on sex, gender identity, expression, sexual orientation. I mean, it's not a secret the LGBTQ plus community is under attack. Human rights are under attack. We're being murdered for going to the bathroom that we want to use, for dressing how we want to be seen, for being called as we want to be called, simply for just existing. And, you know, it's pride, but we need to make sure that we're not blindsided by the bold bigotry behind the corporate flags and the swag. We need to make sure we're checking them for union bugs, and how they treat their employees, just not in June. But Pride at Work serves as a constant reminder to make sure that people are seen at work. And they also offer resources. So if your local is interested in training or you need a model contract language, please let us know. I'm looking for my fundraiser money queue. Celebrating Solidarity is coming up June 27th at 6 p.m. at the AFL. So make sure that you please get involved with Pride at Work. If you are in a union, please ask your union if they are involved at Pride at Work. If not, please get involved. And I serve as the national treasurer for Pride at Work.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much for that explanation, but it leads me into another question. So there's a misconception about Pride at Work. Must you be a member of the LGBTQIA plus to be a member of Pride at Work?
Absolutely not.
Good.
Our money sees no colors. So please, but no, please, this is for allies, this is for members, unions to get involved. We want to make sure that members are represented and are seen, and that local leaders and unions also are creating a space for trainings and for language, contract language, and things like that. So please, yes, get involved at Pride at Work, prideatwork.org.
We celebrated last month, Military Appreciation Month. And thank you for your service. Too bad you didn't come on last month. We could have had you last month and this month. But could you share with us specifically your military experience as a queer person?
Yes, absolutely. So I am a queer vet. I joined the Army in 2009 when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was heavily in place. And I recently spoke at our convention about how, you know, when we're fighting, some people say that we're fighting for freedom, but some would say it would be control. You can call it whatever you want when you're a soldier and you're fighting. And we have a type of solidarity there, but I couldn't be my authentic self. I couldn't rock my locks. In fact, my drill sergeant lied to me and said that I could keep my locks, and 3 weeks into basic training, took me to cut all my hair off. So they really, you know, beat me down and brought me back up. But when I was there in the military, you know, they tell you when to get up and when to do all of the things. And I knew the repeal bill had passed and it was ready to go into effect. And so I wanted to share that freedom. And so I remember buying a pride flag and having it shipped over, and some pride patches for me and my fellow battle buddies to wear. And I know that that in itself has been, it's been a struggle, because even though I fought for the country and I'm a queer Black woman, I still face challenges as being a gay Black woman or a queer Black woman, knowing that I fought for the country. So we're not just fighting for just a right to survive or fighting for the war, but we're also fighting a battle to just live authentically in ourselves and the jobs that we do. So it taught me a lot, and it really helped me to come out of the closet and to make sure that people are seen.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It leads me into a thought, of course, with the Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and then in the last administration, certain things have been rolled back. It leads me into the question, why is voting and having a political presence as a unionist and an activist, a woman of color, and a member of the queer community, why is that so important now?
You know, it is very important. And it's tough because we look and see what's going on in the world, and we look at people who said that they were going to have our backs, and they're passing bills and laws that are going against who we are. So it's tough. Representation does matter. I know as a queer woman of color and a combat veteran, I am honored to be where I am, and to know that a lot of people look up to me and know that I can use my voice in different places. But I also know that as flight attendants, we fly in and out of states. that affect how we live on the road. And we need to make sure that when we are voting and educating folks, that it's not just about where we live, but it's also about where we travel and where members of our union live. It's a scary time right now, just I guess to exist in the world. And so the lip service is going to be long gone, and we need to start calling it out. And I know that I use my voice to call things out that I don't like and that I don't see. But it's really to make sure that other people's voices can be heard and that people are safe and that people feel protected on their jobs and how they exist in the world.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. We featured someone on the show a few months ago that was actually in bargaining out in District 9, and she made us actually do a deep think on people in the LGBTQIA plus community. We don't even feel safe traveling to different states. And I had never really considered that with the different laws and legislation, and so many different laws and legislation that are being pushed in different states that you can't keep up with them all. And so it's something for us to really, really think about and be very selective on what candidates we actually stand behind in order to make a difference for us to feel safe and secure in our communities. What are some of the upcoming events? I know there are lots of them that you're just chomping at the bit to tell us about, but what are some of the upcoming events and actions that are coming up?
Yes, and real quick, I just do want to say we need to make sure that we are uplifting and making sure that we are electing folks who are aligned. But actions speak louder than words, and a lot of people will serve you a lot of lip service, and we need to make sure that people are coming out, showing up and supporting us in our contract fights in the union. And when we are reaching out, we need to make sure that we have that support around. So yes, let's talk about things that are coming up. So something big that's going on is our right to strike. And so over 80,000 flight attendants have been in drawn out negotiations across the industry. I'm sure you've seen flight attendants when you travel wearing red pins, contract now lanyards, but without the credible threat of a strike, management across airlines is perfectly happy to prolong negotiations for years. So we are currently demanding that the National Mediation Board utilize all the provisions of the Railway Labor Act, including the self-help and the workers' right to strike at the end of a 30-day cooling off period, to help encourage negotiations for a fair contract for flight attendants and other aviation workers. So that's something that we're working on overall. So ways that you can support: on June 13, we're having a Worldwide Flight Attendant Day of Action. It will happen at an airport near you. Anywhere you are, you can pop up. You can show your support for flight attendants on Thursday, June 13th. And flight attendants across airlines will come together for a Worldwide Flight Attendant Day of Action to show we're unified, to fight for strong contracts and demand and end corporate greed. So you can find a picket location near you, and please stay in the know by following Instagram AFA-CWA. Frontier Airlines. Many folks would know them by animals that they have on the back of their aircrafts. They are fantastic flight attendants. So Frontier flight attendants have filed for a federal mediation with the National Mediation Board for impact bargaining over Frontier Airlines' business model. So they're changing how they operate. They're doing a reduction in compensation while sharply increasing their time on the job or commuting to it. So this is a situation of immediate harm. And so management shift of operational scheduling to over 90% of one-day turns will drastically impact flight attendants' compensation, their out-of-pocket costs, and time at work without additional pay. So when you are flying in the airlines and you see flight attendants flying with Frontier, please give them a nod and tell them that you're with them in solidarity, and we will make sure that you get the action networks to sign. And for those of you who don't know, we are organizing the Delta flight attendants. Maybe one day they will make it on those Union Busters segment. It has never been more urgent for flight attendants unionizing at Delta. This is more than 27,000 flight attendants at Delta who are unrepresented and organizing with the Association of Flight Attendants. They're dragging down and delaying changes for our entire industry. So if we could plug a second Union Buster of the day, I would like to plug Delta Airlines, following SkyWest as well. And then we are a large union that represents all different types of airlines. And so we do have regionals. I come from a regional airline. One is Endeavor. So when flight attendants at Delta's wholly owned regional carrier, lag their counterparts by more than 45% in compensation and benefits. Endeavor flight attendants wear the Delta uniform. They fly the Delta branded flights, but management claims that Delta is the best place to work. But for thousands of Endeavor flight attendants who live near or in poverty, that couldn't be further from the truth. So when we come out to these pickets, we're also supporting the regionals. And again, SkyWest, similar to Delta, another regional carrier for Delta. They also fly for American, United, and Alaska. And they have more than 4,000 flight attendants who have no voice on the job, and they are currently organizing for their union as well. But we do have a win. Breeze made us 20 airlines strong. So Breeze Airways flight attendants voted 76.3% to join us, the Association of Flight Attendants. The election was certified by the National Mediation Board, and we continued to the wave of the union organizing in the South, with flight attendants based at the least unionized state of South Carolina and Florida, Louisiana, Utah, and Virginia. So anyone on the show, if you're listening, if you fly on Breeze, if you fly on SkyWest, if you fly on Delta, if you would like materials to help support our causes, please reach out to us. Please follow us on social media, AFA-CWA.org, myself as Kato's Quest, but please get involved. Flight attendants save lives. We are aviation's first responders, and we need to be treated and seen as such. So that's a little bit about what's going on over at the Association of Flight Attendants. So when you do come out and support, please wear your red shirt. And if you do have pins, please rock your pins, but always say what's up to the flight attendants when you come on board. And we like snacks.
I like snacks too. Thank you so much for joining the show today. You have certainly represented your industry and certainly represented CWA very well. Thank you for all that you do and that you continue to do. I look forward to seeing you at the Human Rights Conference, CWA Human Rights Conference in August at the Hilton Americas in Houston on August 11th through the 14th. See you soon. And back to...
Oh, sorry, Reggie. Yes, we will be at the CWA convention. AFA will be there in full force hosting some trainings. So if you haven't signed up, please sign up. Please reach out. And I always like to say, protect trans folks in contract now. Thank you again for having me on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you for coming to the show today. Errol, back to you.
Thank you so much, Reginald, for spotlighting our own. Up next, we're going to talk about voting with pride. It's a privilege and a priority, and everyone is included in this conversation today. But I just want to start it out by saying in 2023, more than 550 anti-LGBTQIA plus bills were introduced across 43 states, and more than 80 were passed into law. And so far in this new year, 285 have been introduced according to the American Civil Liberties Union. So let's talk about it. Let's delve right on into it because voting is a must.
I agree, Errol. I mean, you know, a lot of people are starting to lose faith in democracy, and they're starting to not understand the importance and the value of our votes. And that's something I think that we need to come together as a democracy and work on. That's something that so many people have fought for, so many people have lost their lives for, and it's so important. And it's really important too to vote and to exercise your rights at the smaller level, the local level, the state level, before we get to the national level. Those are things that impact where your children go to school, how much funding your kids' schools get, how much funding the police department in your city gets. There's so many things that are impacted by the vote that people don't look at it outside of just the presidential election, which is super important. But there's those things that you deal with every single day that rely on your vote that we need to start talking about.
Most definitely. And when one is hurt, the other is also hurt. And what I've noticed over these past few these past few months and this year, the bills that have been introduced It deals with the people's rights in education, healthcare, public accommodations, free speech and expression, and many, many more. And a total of about 130 of these bills restrict students and teachers' rights through curriculum censorship, forced outing of students, and other regulations. And 70 bills this year introduced were surrounding healthcare, and mostly with age restrictions. So, and a lot of times people don't think it affects me. So we must understand that if one bill is passed against anybody in any community, then it eventually can affect you.
It can. It absolutely can. And this is what I was saying about traveling, right? So as flight attendants, we travel interstate lines, right? So bills that have been passed in the South, or bills that aren't being passed in the South, affect flight attendants, trans people who want to go to the bathroom in the South, and they can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that when we're educating, and like you said, some people might feel that it doesn't impact them. But for someone who is queer and who has a lot of people that says that they support me and what I believe in and who I love, take it to the polls. That's what I say. You know what I mean? Like, and enough of the lip service. Yeah, it's tough, but it is very important. But I think now people have lost trust. People see that their friends are being murdered, their families being murdered and being killed. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's a trust. It's trust. How are people expected to trust that they're going to
Mm-hmm.
be safe?
Right. And people at this point are just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And even with the other measures that go into place, it weakens civil rights laws. It weakens human rights laws. So it affects everyone at some point and some time. And it seems as if, and I know this is in the in the South, it seems as if the legislatures are not human, because they are going after everything: human rights, civil rights, DEI, even passing laws on CRT that has nothing to do with individuals in elementary school. CRT is a college educational course, not anything to do with high school, nothing to do with elementary school. So it's coming after everybody. And I know it's especially bad in the state of Alabama.
Well, Errol, I don't think it's just in the state of Alabama, and you're absolutely right. I mean, everything seems to be under attack in a certain way, but it goes back to the thought that I've had for some time, and we talk about it often amongst each other: who actually holds the power? It's a big deal now, even on the news and everywhere. Each side is trying to determine who holds the power. And it seems that the people who actually hold the power are the people who are being actually impacted. But power is nothing if we don't utilize it through the power of the actual going to the polls and vote. We can be the force, we can have the numbers, but if we don't go to the polls to vote, it's useless. And these things continue to happen year after year because we're not actually utilizing our power, which is through the actual vote. So there is a disconnect somewhere. And of course, if I had the answer to this, I could probably solve the world's problems. I don't know where the disconnect really is, and how do we actually communicate with the generation. There is a generation behind me that I know they hold a true power, but the issues are not resonating with them, or they don't believe in the actual system. So it's very concerning there.
All right, Makia, before you come on, can I say something right here? Because I know you and I had kind of talked about this, and and Reggie just opened the door for it with the young voters. And I was doing the research, and I looked at voters 40 and younger, and they have the same issues that individuals over 50 have. And that is the economy, immigration, talking about war, increasing rents, food prices, gas costs. So we have the same issues, but it seems as if legislatures are not listening. Makia, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I think that's the issue here, right? As a person that can be considered young by most and not by some, it's hard to have faith in a system that's designed to support you when you don't feel supported, I'll say. So as a younger person, we're looked at a lot of times as a number. It's always, oh, well, the young people need to vote, or the young people have, there's so many young people that are now eligible to vote and they have so much power and they can swing it this way and they can swing it that way. But are you really listening to our issues? Are you bringing us to the table and valuing our opinions the way that you should be? Are you taking heed to what we're saying? And that doesn't happen as often as it should. And I do think that young people are told that they're young people. They're not respected as adults. They are adults. They are living, like you said, they are living their lives as adults. They are paying rent. They are paying student loan debts. They have to pay for this food. We don't have any support, right? Like we don't have all of the different benefits and things that we had back in the day. I can't survive off of being a milkman. I can't afford to buy a home from working just one job in fast food. It's not realistic. And our problems are real and they need to be treated as such. And we don't need to be a number or a figure. We need to be an advisor. We need to be a consultant. We need to be taken seriously. And I think that's the issue here, because we have problems and we have voices and they tend to be put on the back burner. So I think a way for us to come together and to move forward, because all of our issues are important and we all need each other and we all need to move democracy forward. And in the way to get younger people back to the polls and back into voting is to take them seriously. And that's a huge thing for me. I speak with young people all the time. I even got my 13-year-old niece involved in the student government in her elementary school. She's like her student body president. So it's super important. I bring my son with me to vote every time I get a chance to, and I let him press the buttons and let him know what the importance is. But it's super important to start young and to let them know that, you know, their issues are just as important as everyone else's issues, and to stop pushing them to the wayside and to actually implement some of the things that we're asking for, like, you know, body autonomy and things like that. Like the way that we're going backward when we want the young people to push us forward, but right now legislation, we're going backward. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And I think the reason is because we're not listening and we're not implementing those things.
Keturah and then Reginald.
And I'll say one thing, it's about implementing as well, but it's about holding people accountable. You know what I mean? Even internally within our unions and stuff, like if there's people who aren't elevating the message, then we need to also hold them accountable.
Yes.
Too many times that the people who are getting invited to be in spaces where maybe they shouldn't be in those spaces because that's not the time for them to be there, and then it's blocking someone else. But yes, it is important for representation to know that yes, their issues matter, but when even at local government, yes, we need to hold them accountable. And if they aren't doing the things that they said that they're going to do, then we stand up, because, you know, when we fight, we win. When we fight,
We win.
yes. And so it's just about fighting back and reclaiming our power. And I believe that's what workers are doing in our unions and what we need to do when we go out and vote. So,
Reggie?
No, Errol, I don't have anything else to say other than instead of looking at our differences, the age differences, that's just another way to divide us and diminish our collective power. I think we need to find the commonalities that we've talked about on the show today, and remember just to push the vote, to get out to vote, exercise your right to vote. Thank you, Errol.
Okay, thank you. But Makia, you said something with working on the job, and I know you're our pay equity guru, and you can talk this out for the rest of the hour into power trivia. Well, I heard a legislator say, well, you need to get another job.
Right. And why? Why do I should be able to survive off of one job?
Well, you need to go get an education.
I do have an education, and with student loans and the way that the economy is because of people before me, I cannot afford to afford. Okay, not even I can't even afford to breathe. So this is why it's important to go out to the polls and put people in places and things in places to move us forward. Okay, we need to make sure that we're voting for people that want to raise the minimum wage, to push us forward and to push more union jobs, because I have a good union paying job now, so I can afford to live off that one job. But that's not true for everyone. So we need to push that, push the PRO Act, and get out there and vote. And that's all I have to say about this.
Okay, all right. I guess we will leave that alone, because we could go on and on this, because I could easily come back in and say, what about a 16-year-old that's only making $7.25, but he or she is taking care of their entire family? It's just not fair. Well, you're listening to CWA Our Power on KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you on KYOKradio.org. Up next is Our Power Trivia with my Kia.
All right, I know y'all just heard me, but let's have some fun now. we can be silly for a minute. So yes, welcome back to Our Power Trivia. And right now, trivia is going to be between Reginald and Keturah, and he said that she was his favorite. So let's just see how this all boils down. So your name is your buzzer. I'm going to ask you guys a series of 5 questions. If you would like to answer the question, you say your name. Whoever's name I hear first is going to be the person that's allowed to answer the question first. If you get the question correctly, you get the point. If you get the question incorrectly, then the opponent has a chance to steal and win the point. Are you both ready?
I'm sorry, is there a prize?
Yes.
Or is there some swag?
Yes. Shopping spree at the Dollar Tree.
I'll come collect the swag, don't you worry. I'll be right downstairs, C1, collecting my swag.
All right, so question 1. How did Pride Month begin?
Keturah.
Keturah.
The 1969 Stonewall riots, which started on June 28th, 1969.
All right, someone was listening. 1 for Keturah. Second question. How long did the Stonewall riots last? Keturah.
6 days.
All right, Reggie, are you even playing? Third question.
Wake up.
What does Pride stand for?
Keturah.
All right, if she gets this right, that's it. All right, go ahead, Keturah.
The word pride is an integral cultural concept within the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, LBBTQIA community, representing solidarity, collectivity, and identity, as well as resistance to discrimination and violence.
Well, there you have it. I mean, I don't even know if Reginald is still alive at this point.
Reginald is on, and there is dignity in a loss sometimes.
All right, well, congratulations, Keturah. You'll get your swag and your Dollar Tree memorabilia from Errol, and take it back.
Linda J has come in with the bell today. Thank you, Linda J. As we come down to the final minutes of the show, our union brothers, sisters, and siblings at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette have been outside for 18 months on the picket lines. And yet, while they are striking, they are still churning out the news with facts for you and me. Let's show our support to them by making sure we subscribe to unionprogress.com. Once you subscribe to this free publication, how about going over and donating to their strike fund at cwa.org/ppg-donate. I just heard someone say we are one, and that's right, we are one. Our brothers and sisters and siblings at Maximus are still fighting for a contract, and since you are in a giving spirit, because it is better to give than receive, journey over to cwa.org/CCW Solidarity Fund. We are vastly approaching the CWA National Human Rights Conference from August 11th through 14th in beautiful Houston, Texas. We hope that you have already made plans to attend, but if not, there is still time, so make your reservations today. We thank all of our guests again for being in the studio with us today, and we hope to have them back very soon. An hour is not long enough to be with you, and a week is too long to be away from you. You have been tuned into the CWA Human Rights Justice Our Power broadcast. I hope something you heard today has inspired you to take action toward creating positive change in the world. Every person has the power to make a difference, no matter how small. And by working together, we can create a world where human rights are respected and valued. So I encourage each of you in the listening audience to reflect on your goal in promoting human rights to effect change in your communities and beyond. Know that you are not alone in your quest for a more just and equitable world. When faced with injustice, it can be easy to lose hope and give up. But remember, justice may be slow, like the truth, but when it finally comes, it will stand. Until next Thursday, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, right here on KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM, KYOK Radio.org. Happy Pride Month. See you next week.